Hey guys, welcome to the Student Side Hustle. So in this show, what we're trying to do is I'm trying to share stories of individuals and people who generally are doing something unique, doing something entrepreneurial, doing something that they're passionate about and trying to make it their career. That's not necessarily the thing that allows you to be on the show or qualifies you to be a guest on the show, but that's generally what we're talking about. We're talking about entrepreneurship, passion, etc. A lot of it revolves around bodybuilding and fitness because that's what I'm personally interested in. But what I want you to take away from this is just the fact that you can do whichever passion that you'd like to do, and you can make that into a career. It's a long path, but you can make it happen. And basically what I'm doing is showing you 80 plus examples of people who are doing it and who have done it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I would love if you would subscribe because we've got a lot of new episodes coming out. And yeah, thank you so much for listening.
People are constantly raising the bar.
Sacrifices need to be made.
What would you guys say are your biggest weaknesses?
You or your enemy right now.
Is success a lie?
It's just a fucking podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Student Side Hustle. This week I'm speaking to Corinne Ingman. She is a bodybuilder from the UK, just got her IFBB Pro card on November 11th, which I think is insane. She has a Master's in Exercise Sport Physiology and has a over 500 kilo total. So it's 502.5 kilos when she was 72 kgs. And like, to me, that's insane because I'm 72 kilos as well. And I have a spinal condition, so I can't tell what my squat, and deadlift total would be, but that's fucking insane if you know anything about powerlifting. So it's like, yeah, to get anywhere near those numbers, I think is phenomenal. And to be an IFBB Pro blows my fucking mind. But Corey, how did you get into this? How did this all start?
Well, hi. So thanks for having me on the show, James. Okay, so it all started, I suppose, back in about 2012. I had no idea, to be honest, that powerlifting and bodybuilding and any of this actually existed, and I had no intention at all of making this my sort of life and career path. I went to Loughborough University, which is a sports university in the UK. And I actually met my partner, Jordan Peters, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. Basically, from there, he just got me into training, mainly, in honesty, because I was bored of taking him to the gym and watching. So one day I was like, sod it, just show me what to do. Anyway, so it sort of started back then, as a typical kind of young 20-year-old, everyone wants to be a little bit leaner, a little bit slimmer, and look a bit better in a dress. So that's kind of how it started, really. Then he trained me from sort of day one, really, just getting in the gym, showing me how to do things properly. From there, he sort of noticed, oh, hang on, I think you're actually quite strong. I was like, oh, am I? Like, great. I'd always been sporty. I did gymnastics to a national level and kickboxing as well. So yeah, just got into it that way. Started to really enjoy it. Really clicked with the diet. Like, I really enjoyed being on a plan all the time, which I know something, a lot of people wouldn't actually enjoy that, but I genuinely did. So it's quite unusual. So and it just progressed from there. And then I entered my first powerlifting meet. Didn't really know what we were doing. Just thought we'd turn up and give it a crack. And won that competition and won the overall. I can't remember my totals, to be honest, but it was decent. I was obviously in a junior class, and it progressed from there, really. Just then I stepped on stage not long after, just as a figure. I wasn't very good, to be honest, but I was okay. Like, aesthetically, I had the sort of a good shape and stuff. So the sort of foundations were all kind of there, and then it just progressed from there. It just became life. It became my passion. Yeah. And then from there, I just entered more competitions and got better and better. And it's just been a slow creep up. I suppose about 2014, 2015 was when I realised I was quite good at it, and I was going to keep going. I think that was the first year that I sort of looked and I was bringing something that wasn't just sort of run of the mill. Beginner kind of standard. So that was kind of when I began to take it a bit more seriously. And then in 2016 I entered the Pro Raw meet, which was in Melbourne, and that was at the Arnold Sports Festival, and that's when I took my 502 total for powerlifting, and that saw me as the strongest female in UK history ever. Since then, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's great. Another lady has taken the title. I think she got a 520 or something like that. I can't remember the specifics. So I had it for a little while. I don't have it right now, but I do have passion in my belly to get that back at some stage if I can. And that was 2016, and then 2018, obviously just gone a couple of months back, I took my IFBB Pro card, so now I compete as an IFBB women's physique competitor, and now obviously my goal is to get to the Olympia, whether that will be this year or next year, I don't know. I'm going to keep trying. I don't think you can ever sort of predict it, and as long as I keep stepping on stage a little bit better than last time, that's kind of all I can hope for. In the last year as well, I graduated with my physiology masters. I got a distinction, so that was fantastic. And at the minute, I'm looking into starting my PhD or my doctorate in nutrition physiology based topic. I don't know if any of you know much about sort of the PhD and doctorate world, but there's lots of options to go down. So kind of picking a title in an institution is really quite important, because you've got to, it's a big chunk of your life that you're committing to sort of study one area. So that's what I'm currently exploring at the moment. But I've got an open day next couple of weeks' time. And then hopefully I'll look to start that probably next year at the beginning of 2020, just so I can kind of fit everything in. So that, in a nutshell, is how it started and where I am now.
Do you feel like it was a relatively straightforward transition when you're going from powerlifting to bodybuilding? Was that sort of... Because I think with that sort of thing, did it come like you could do both relatively sort of at the same time, or sort of they worked synergistically for some time, but do you feel like you've had to sort of diverge and go deep into one and then probably maybe go back deep into another?
Yeah, no. Well, there's certainly not simultaneous activities. I've learnt that the hard way. I actually tried, one week I did, I think it was 2013, I can't remember. I did a stage competition, and then literally a week later, I tried to do the World Powerlifting meet, and that was probably the only meet when I thought, this is not going to go well, because you're not at capacity for powerlifting. So now, after that, I learnt my lesson that you do really need to separate it. So, for example, in the 2016, when I took the title and then I competed on stage later in the year, I separated the year. So the first half was powerlifting, the second half was physique. And that's the better way to do it, in my opinion. Because otherwise you just end up kind of, missing out on what you could have got slightly, because they're going to hinder each other in some way. So in terms of training and diet, I mean, my diet never changes. I diet all year round. It's just whether it's a surplus or a deficit. It's not like there's ever an on or an off period. And in terms of training, like my goal is always strength. So with the powerlifting meet, the only thing that was different, I still did accessory work, but I was obviously just focusing on the 3 compounds. Whereas when I'm looking to step on stage, I don't squat, bench and deadlift, because from a hypertrophy perspective, they're not the most optimal exercises. So with powerlifting, the principles are still the same in terms of I'm stepping in the gym wanting to progress, but obviously I'm just doing more sport specific training. But my advice to anyone that wants to do both, you can do both for sure, but don't try and do it on the same day. Definitely separate your year, because you will honestly you'll get a better result doing it that way.
I think it's quite interesting, the fact that you don't do sort of squat, bench, deadlift during the more bodybuilding specific periods, because for me personally, I found I don't ever. Well, I have a spinal condition, so I can't really do squat and deadlift, and I can't progressively overload them for more than, I don't know, weeks before I get injured, sort of thing. So it's not. It's quite refreshing to hear someone say that, and I think it's becoming more prominent. People getting off the sort of exercise elitism train. I found when you first get into it, everyone's like, you must squat, you must bench, but it's like, especially in the British scene, it's like you get some great, and I think it stems a lot from what you and JP are doing. It's like there's no rules, like the rules are very loose, and it's like you can experiment with exercises and make them exactly
Absolutely.
What you need.
I think to be like, for somebody, a barbell back squat may be an absolutely fantastic optimal exercise. to build muscle or just for any means. But for me personally, and for quite a lot of people, is actually just a higher injury risk. I mean, for me specifically, like my lower back is actually pretty weak, to be honest. I'm probably the least natural powerlifter you've ever met in your life, but for some reason, because I'm stubborn, I've just managed to get quite good at it. My deadlift technique is appalling. Like, it's awful. And I'm the same as you. Obviously, I haven't got a spinal injury, luckily, but from the deadlift exercise for too long, I will get injured. My back will just give in.
Yes.
And then obviously the longevity of my plan just goes to pot. So what's the point?
Yes.
So I'd rather do a chest supported variation that's actually going to bring muscular adaptation than waste a lot of neural energy on doing a deadlift. I'm not getting anything from it, and 2 weeks later I'm going to be injured. So like if you are the sort of person that can get on great with a certain exercise, do it. If you're not, find an alternative. And I think that is definitely something that we all learn as we get a little bit more autonomous with our training, because everyone is just so different. But it's great that there is now this sort of idea that we don't all have to be married to one exercise, and we can do kind of what works for us, and there's no taboo about that.
I think it's quite relieving, because it's like, for instance, especially in my community, because a lot of my listeners will have scoliosis, so it's basically a curvature of the spine, fixed for a lot of them through a fusion, and that's what I have. And I found like basically none of them feel good squatting and deadlifting. And then I found like if you go and I guess we're not talking about the average gym goer here when we're talking about bodybuilders, but it's like the average gym goer, I find, pretty much on average has horrible form on a squat and a deadlift. And it's like,
I agree.
We're not seeing on a bench press, it's a little better, but it's still pretty shit. And it's like, that I find is it's almost scary, because if someone was in my position and they weren't being mindful of something like that, it's like a sure path to a major injury. And I think I find it quite scary. And I think I love especially someone that's really taught me it is, do you know 3DMJ? They've sort of taught me a lot of it. It's sort of how you can just go wide of exercise selection, and you can pretty much do whatever feels good for you. Do you think it is, when you are picking exercises, do you particularly go for ones that feel good, or ones that you've seen anecdotally do a lot for you hypertrophy wise, or how do you sort of go about picking your own exercises?
Well, I do, I consider longevity, like you said. The last thing I want, and it applies to absolutely any sport, we're not even just talking about bodybuilding or powerlifting.
Yes.
You don't want to get injured, because if you get injured, you're not going to progress, and you might not be able to compete. So yes, I take a lot of consideration into picking the exercises that work best for me. So like I said, for example, I won't lower backload in my at the moment my training setup is like a push-pull legs style,
right? Yeah.
And in my pull sessions I won't lower backload. So for example, I mean a deadlift or a rack pull, or a T-bar row or a barbell row, because simply my reach muscular failure anyway, so the contraction of the correct muscle is going to be subpar.
Yes.
And I don't want to have to progress it for 2 to 3 weeks and get an injury and therefore not be able to train my legs properly. I avoid lower backloading because I know that my injury risk is high. So therefore my selection for my back movements are going to be the chest supported variations. So a chest supported dual dumbbell row is great. Chest supported T-bar row, and then that work, or even if you've got a great machine row, that works just as well. And I can get a real good connection. I'm not going to get injured, so I know that I can stick to this plan for sort of 2 months before I need to deload, and by the end of it, I'm going to be better and not just crippled. So absolutely. Like I've learned what to do and what not to do, and you've got to work around your own weaknesses, kind of thing, and don't be kind of don't be brave. Don't think, well, I know I'm going to get injured, but it's really cool to do a deadlift. It's
that scares me.
Not to, people do it, and like, do you know what as well? We've all done it as well. And learn with age and experience.
I remember when I started, I thought there's this guy on YouTube, and he did sumo deadlifts really, really heavy, and I thought he was so cool. And then I realized that I can't do sumo deadlifts, and it took me so long to realize that fact. But it was just like,
Yeah.
I thought it was so cool for so long, but it's like, okay, you probably shouldn't do them. And now I'm doing exercises that just feel phenomenal.
Yeah.
They're maybe not as cool, but it's like, to me, they feel phenomenal. And I think, like, for instance, with my legs, I neglected training legs for like a year and a half. Like, just when I started gymming. So I've been gymming for maybe 3 years now. And it's like, only in the last maybe a year and a half have I actually trained legs properly, just because I've kind of realized, oh shit, you actually don't need to use a barbell to do a squat, which is like the stupidest thing. But it's, I guess for so many people, it's like, oh, they see, like, there's this one video of, I'm sure this person doesn't think like this anymore, and I won't use their name, but there's a very prominent figure in fitness, and they basically have a video on bodybuilding.com of them saying, you got to squat to get big legs. And it's like, I'm pretty sure their opinions changed now. But it was pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just bodybuilding.com sort of being all like intense and all that, but it was very.
But I mean, the thing is though, we've all done it. Like even sort of myself and Jordan, when we first started training and first started getting a bit of a following and stuff, you know, we used to be like, yeah, the compounds are the best ones. Like you've got to move weight to get big, and yes, to a degree, you know, strength and weight, you know, that does build tissue, but. You know, we definitely, as younger sort of athletes that were a bit naive, definitely ignored the kind of, hang on, let's not get injured and let's not ego lift. I mean, we've all been there. So we all learn. And I think into this, you might listen to it and totally understand what we're saying, but I bet really you're probably still going to do the ego lifts for a little bit because you do want to be cool. Yeah. And you know what? Be sensible, be safe, and do it, because they are a lot of fun. Yeah. That we'll all learn, and then you know that younger generation will turn around in 2 years' time and go, "Yeah, they were right." So we just passed the ego baton down. Really. So we've all been there, but you live and learn for sure.
One thing that I would like to cover that I think I find quite interesting is I mainly follow sort of more male bodybuilders, and I find with female bodybuilders I find it hard to relate, obviously. But then it's like, there's things I can relate on. But the one thing that I found whenever, because I'm not a PT or a coach or anything, but I have a lot of female friends who will come to me for coaching. For example, I'm getting my girlfriend into weightlifting slowly and surely. And I find I get a lot of questions from females around, they don't. And it's something that I have a lot of resistance to, because if you think about it in terms of physiology, it's like if someone stays the exact same weight, but they start lifting weights, they will get smaller or more toned, as they like to say, and that will. And I've never had a bad reaction to someone getting more muscular. And do you find when you first started, did you like the feeling of getting more muscular? Because I think as a male it's promoted, but then as a female it's almost shunned, which I think is very sad, because it's like for muscle, pretty much in any domain, it's healthy to have more. So it's like, well, I know what you're saying. I think it's hard. I mean, obviously, growing muscle, as we all know, takes a long, long time. Like, you don't just go into a gym, look at a barbell or a dumbbell and grow. Like, that's kind of I think a lot of females as well, and I am sort of saying this as females because there's that fear of getting too big, in inverted commas. And when someone comes to me, for example, they go, "Oh, I don't want to get too big," and I kind of think, really, don't worry. That's nothing you've got to worry. It's not easy.
You know, it's not that easy. You know, if it was, then we'd all be, you know, huge. And so, did I enjoy? I'll be very honest. Actually, I don't enjoy the getting bigger part, in terms of the fact that when you need to gain muscle, you obviously need to be in a caloric surplus, which obviously means you're going to gain some body fat. So when you are a female and you're very lean, and then you have to go into a phase where you want to gain some size and you have to get fatter, I find that very difficult, because
would you say mainly
as a female,
mentally?
Yeah, mentally it's horrible, because as a female, if you've got a bit of muscle as well, the minute you put on a little bit of fat, and trust me, I don't even really get fat, you know, you feel bigger and you do occupy more space. And then when someone says to you in the gym, and they're trying to be nice, but they say, "Oh, you're massive," that to me is right. I don't like it, because it's not very nice. Like, I'm still, at the end of the day, just a female. I don't want to be massive. It's not, you know, it's not my intention. So you kind of have to I have to take it with a pinch of salt, because I
Yes.
know that the guys in the gym, when they say that, they're being complimentary.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, I am aiming to increase a little bit of size so I can fulfill my goal. But I do find it mentally and personally quite difficult
Yes.
when I'm looking bigger. Because I think, like you said, for females, for a man, if you get big in the off season, everyone's like, "Oh, mate, you're hench."
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's like, yes, I want to be big.
Yeah.
Women never really want to.
They don't
to
want
be
to.
big.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like
So like,
they're almost.
def-
It's almost a fear.
absolutely. I mean, I fear it, and I'm, an experienced person with very fixed goals. I'm not just like someone going to the gym to improve. So
Yes.
I think it's a very, very real fear, and it's a very valid thing to say. But what I would just say to any sort of female, anyone training, but we're sort of specifying females here, is you're not going to get too big by weight training. And over time, that muscle will lead to, in conjunction with lower body fat, that will lead to you creating the look of having nice curves, a big bottom, nice sweepy glutes, well-toned arms. So you have to do what you've got to do to get the result, and try not to be afraid of it, because everything's just a process.
Yes.
But I totally 100% understand it. But just remember that you're doing it for yourself.
Yes.
And it is also great to have a little bit more muscle, because you're going to be stronger, your bones are going to be stronger, health, longevity. So try to think of all the positives and try to ignore if there's one idiotic comment from somebody who doesn't understand training. Try to ignore it and just rationalize it, because at the end of the day, you're doing what you want to do.
Yes.
So that's all I would say. I totally understand the fear, and it is hard for females. I mean, I feel it too, and it's not nice.
Yeah.
It makes me feel pretty crap sometimes when people say the wrong thing. So I totally understand.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of females, especially on the upper body, they're very scared of sort of gaining anything there. But I did one thing that I found when I took my girlfriend and we did an upper body session. She loved doing the movements, so it's like for me that was something that I found really intriguing, because she enjoys the gym more than the average girl, I'd say, definitely more than the average person. It's like, and I'm obviously
She's probably got that from you.
I hope so. Even before we started dating, she went to the gym quite a decent amount, but she was she wouldn't do anything upper body. She'd just mainly do like glutes and abs and like all that. And then I found them, like I got her doing a T-bar row, and she was like, she said something after. She was like, I feel so like, I think she said strong or something, and I was like, wow. And she like just loved it was really cool to see. And it's like, that's the thing. I think, do you think there's the same negative connotations around feeling strong, or is it just the size thing mainly?
I think it's hard to tell. I mean, I like feeling strong, but I don't necessarily like feeling big, which is totally stupid, because you kind of need both at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think it's, I mean, obviously because I come from a powerlifting background, there's kind of an expectation from other people that I am strong. So I kind of need, I do sort of feel like I need to live up to that a little bit. Otherwise, it's kind of a bit embarrassing on my part. But I know I really enjoy progressing. There's nothing more satisfying than looking back at my logbook from 2 months ago and saying, oh, I did, T-bar row for however many kilos for 10 reps, and then today I've added 10 kilos to that, or whatever. What's more satisfying than that? Like, it's kind of everything in life is about progression, whether it's kind of, last week I got a B in that test and this week I got an A. It's bettering yourself all the time. So I enjoy that element with strength, and with strength as well, I enjoy the fact that it's a very objective measure.
Yes.
Like with bodybuilding, or fitness, or even just when you're trying to improve yourself, not for a competition, there's no, how do you measure it? How do you measure if you look better?
Yes.
It's very difficult. So at least that's what I kind of like, the sort of safety within numbers there almost. Do
you find especially
black and white?
Do you find in the off season it's very hard to measure, or hard to almost tell if anything's improving, sort of thing, apart from the numbers?
I mean, I think the thing is when you are in a phase when you're not as lean, so sort of aesthetically and visually. You're not looking for lines. You're not looking for condition.
Yeah.
That's the point when you really do just need to be looking into your performance
Yes.
and your strength, because that is what you are measuring. And, you know, as long as your form is really good in the gym and with the exercises, if you're progressing in strength, then the only thing moving that extra weight is going to be muscle. So you know you're progressing. So yeah, I think in off season, the numbers in the gym are probably your most effective tool.
Yes. And I think it's one of the few things where it's one thing that actually
sort of want to look at themselves in off season as much.
Oh, sorry, I think we just cut out there a little bit. Do you find is there anything you can? And is there anything you do that you find helps to deal with the sort of negative feelings during an off season? Like any sort of habits or things you sort of think to yourself, or anything like that, or just in general with the whole issue with feeling too big, like with that whole thing?
To be honest, it's something you get used to. I kind of accept that it's a phase that I don't particularly love. I mean, some people do really enjoy it. But there's a couple of really important things I think is number one, like we just said, focus on getting strong. Make that your target, because if you've got that focus, you've got that excitement to do it. So, for example, this morning I haven't got up and gone, better look in the mirror to check that I've still got striation on my leg.
Yes.
I've gone, okay, cool. What are my numbers in the gym today? Brilliant.
Yes.
Let's make sure I progress them. So you've got to find something to be excited about.
Yes.
Secondly, which is like so important, is just the people around you. Like it doesn't really matter. You have to rationalise. It doesn't really matter what Joe Blogs thinks in the high street, because he doesn't know you as a person. He or she, I'm not being, I get judged from all sectors. They don't know who you are. They don't know what your goals are, and it doesn't really matter. But I do care about the opinion of Jordan, for example, or my friends, or my mum. So those special people around you, they're supporting you.
Yes.
And they know what you're doing. So kind of feel pride in that, and make sure you communicate with them very effectively. If you're feeling like, oh, today I feel really uncomfortable in myself, or, oh, I'm not really loving this today.
Yes.
Just tell them, and they'll be there to go, yeah, but, your competition's in 20 weeks' time, and you really want to try and win that, right? And then you're like, that's true. Or little things like my friends are absolutely amazing, because they know that I feel, a bit worried sometimes, and I'm not sort of teeny tiny, because they know I don't really like it. Like, they always make an effort if we go out for dinner or a show or whatever.
Yes.
They always like, oh, you look really nice in that dress, Corinne. And even in my head, sometimes I'm thinking, I probably don't look that nice, but they've made the effort to say it, and it's just little things like that. So,
and sort of picking those people and figuring out whose opinion to value.
So, like, exactly. So feel pride in the ones that matter, ignore the ones that don't, and try to get excited about the process, because that's why you're doing it. So I think those are my two important points there. Yeah,
like I know, like for me, the thing is obviously the opposite. It's like I feel I used to be 52 kilos and now I'm 72, so I've always got this thing of feeling too small. So it was like and then like say if I go outside in a singlet or a cutoff or something, there'll always be the feeling of too small, and for a long time I used to always worry about that. Even I'd be in class or I'd be surrounded by people that I know, and I would like see my arms or something, then I would like sit in a different way to try and make them look bigger and stuff like that. And I find that's the kind of thing that sucks. And I think I was trying to figure out, okay, how can I get over this? Is it for me like through actually getting bigger, progressing as my physique, or is it trying to mentally sort of get over it? Because I think it's the kind of thing where it's hard, if you just sort of try and build more bricks to get over it, it won't work. It kind of has to be like a whole different approach.
I totally agree. It's obviously like physically changing the things that you don't like will help, but it's an insecurity, and a lot of the time it's an irrational insecurity.
Yeah.
So it is definitely like, you said, build the bricks on your physique, but also build the mental bricks to have the capacity to be who you want to be.
Yes.
And it's not easy to be a strong person or to ignore comments and things like that. We're all human and we've all got a heart, but when you really have a passion and a focus, it's just very important to work on yourself holistically as well as physically. And then I think that really does create the best outcome for you as a person and for you as an athlete.
Yes, and I think like it quite frustrates me. Like I think with male bodybuilders, people tend to be a bit more understanding, but with female bodybuilders, I feel like people can't grasp it because it's like, oh, but girls are meant to want to be sort of small, but it's like there's. I feel like I used to not be able to appreciate the physique, but now I see like your physique and I'm like blown away, right? And it's like I feel like for most people, I don't know what it is. I just clicked in my mind, and it's like I used to look at like the 250-pound people in like Olympia, and I'd be like, oh my god, no, that's too much. But it's like that's the thing. It's very weird, and it's hard for them to grasp, I think.
I absolutely agree, and do you know what? Sometimes me sort of 5 years ago, I would have looked at bigger ladies or bigger men and gone, oh god, that's extreme. But do you know what? It's kind of, I think again, it's something you develop as a person. Like you might, for example, I don't know what your long-term aspirations are, but you may never want to be Ronnie Coleman, the 260, 70, whatever it was, pound bodybuilder, but because you are within the industry and you diet and train and you work hard, doesn't matter about the sort of physical outcome.
Yes.
The kilo, the size, we've all got the same goal. It's just to better ourselves and achieve what we want. So it's just the understanding. So like I've had sort of big girls in like the bikini class, and they do not want to look like me at all.
Right. And
I totally respect that because I don't want to look like them. And that's fine because we've all got a goal, right?
Yes.
But they've said to me, like, I absolutely, I love watching your videos because you train so intense, and I train like that now too.
Yes.
And that's the point. It's an appreciation. Doesn't matter what we look like. I don't want to be, I don't want to be an artist, but Picasso's pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
so it's kind of like
as
long as you've got an appreciation, I think. So you don't have to understand it. You don't have to want to look like me.
Yeah.
You don't have to want to look like you. We're allowed to be different, but we have to respect each other.
Yeah, and I think it's something I wish the general public would understand more. Because even with like natural bodybuilders, like even with like natural dudes or like natural women, they'll still think, oh, even just for the tan aspect, like they'll think, oh, they're too tan. I'm like, but that's bodybuilding. There's an idea. They're not just doing that to do that. There's a point, and it's like.
Do you know what? I totally agree. All my friends, and I'll in inverted commas, they are normal, and by normal I mean they don't have anything to do with bodybuilding in the States. Yeah. They don't even train, right? Because I met them years ago when I was just a uni student. We have a joke about it because like. When I get my makeup and my hair and my tan done for the stage, you look in the mirror and it's like, whoa, that is extreme. Because it is extreme. I don't go out like that in normal life. Like if I was going out for dinner, honestly, I wouldn't wear that much makeup and I would not be that brown. So we have a joke about it. And they were like, oh, you've got it all on today and stuff. So, you know what? Yes, you can criticise like the people that don't know what they're looking at. But guess what? We all know that it's not normal as well. Yeah. But it's not a normal situation. If you're on a stage show in the West End, you wear more dramatic makeup. Yes. Those actors and actresses don't go out looking like that on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. So it's quite funny. I think there's a lot of kind of like comments that go round, and in my head I'm thinking, well, yeah, obviously, like I don't wear a bikini down the street either.
That's the thing.
So
it's
I
like
think people need to be a bit more logical sometimes.
Yeah, I think I don't know what it is about bodybuilding. I guess because it's the extremes of physical, like it's the extremes of physical human beings. So it's like I guess, and it's like say with a pole vaulter, it's like they're gonna look relatively normal, but it's like. I guess with bodybuilding, it's a physical. It's only physical. The thing is physical, and I guess maybe people. I don't know what it is about it. I like for instance, do you know Alberto Nunez?
I've heard of the name. I don't. Yeah.
He's a very lean bodybuilder. So he'll get down. His stage weight is like 160. His off-season weight is like 190, but he's insanely vascular. Like it's ridiculous. Like have a look at his
Oh no, I
physique.
have heard of
Yes,
it.
yes. So he's
Yeah.
ridiculously vascular. It's crazy. And whenever I show him to my friends, they're all like, "Oh my god!" I'm assuming just because of the veins. And it's like, they just, and I get that, but it's like, to me, I'm like, wow. Like, it's just like, it blows my mind. And I don't know, it annoys me quite a decent amount. But I think we'll move on from this discussion because there's a few things I'd like to cover. So one thing that I would like to get and sort of talk about is because we touched on it briefly before, it was briefly mentioned, was strength for bodybuilding. So when we're talking about progressively increasing strength, are we talking over a vast majority of rep ranges? What are we talking? And then is there a time where you where strength increase isn't the goal? Or do you primarily measure progress through strength increase?
I primarily do measure progress through strength because if you're gaining strength, you're going to be gaining muscle and you're going to be sort of stimulating muscle fibers.
Yeah.
Rep ranges, they do vary. So you can use, we say it all the time, like a muscle doesn't know what it's doing.
Yeah.
It's just reacting to the stimulus that you're providing it. So you can use, a heavy load and do a 6-rep set.
Yes.
Equally, you can do a 20-rep set and you're still going to stimulate a response from that muscle.
Yes.
Within sort of any one given session that I do, the majority of my sets are focusing between the sort of 6 to 12 rep range because that is where you're going to gain the most strength and you're going to build the most tissue. I then do some more metabolic sets, so the higher rep range is like 15 to 20 because as you start to tap into the higher reps and you're generating that fatigue, you're tapping into other muscle recruitment, so you are going to stimulate a muscle and equally you're going to get hypertrophic response. So there is definitely merit in using a mixture of rep ranges.
Yes. Would this be within the session or within the exercise? Or
within the session? So typically, for example, I would do my heavier work at the beginning. So I do I had to about 8 working sets on back, for example. So we're talking like a row and maybe like a dumbbell single arm row. I might do sort of 2 sets on each exercise, 8 to 12 rep range going to failure. So I'm really looking to progress strength but keeping form immaculate. Then I might go on to a metabolic set to finish off. So I might go and do a single arm row and do a 20 rep set. Again, keeping contractions perfect, but aiming for that higher rep range. So within one session, I would try to target various different schemes and intensities to stimulate as many fibers as possible. But ultimately, even with my 20 rep set, if I did a 20 rep leg press with just, for example, 100 kilos and I got 20 reps, next week I would put the 1.25s on and I would be aiming to get 20 to 21 reps on that. So I'm still creeping the strength progress with the metabolic sets as well. It's just slower because there's other elements like fatigue, fitness and things like that. And obviously if you've progressed all the earlier sets in your session, by the time you get back to that last set, that might not progress because you're more fatigued than you were last week, for example. So don't try and so every now and then there'll be the odd set within the session that isn't going to progress, but there's other factors to consider and nothing is linear. So yes, within a session, I aim to target various different techniques and rep ranges because I feel that's the most optimal way to grow, to stay injury free and to stimulate as much as you can.
And I think especially with the varying rep ranges, I find a lot of times people will sort of either stick to one rep range or they will be scared of certain rep ranges. And like, for instance, myself, for a long time, I thought it was super cool to do 5 rep maxes basically every session for every exercise because I thought, I don't know where I got the idea, but I think it was someone's program. I don't actually have a program, but I heard people talk about it.
It is cool, but I bet you felt absolutely destroyed.
I felt like shit. Horrible. Literally, I did that for like a year, and I barely progressed that year. Wonder why? And it's like,
To be fair, though, that is credit to your credit to you and your
I thought
body.
it was fun as, but I like my bench press literally went from like 60 kilos to like 62.5 in a year. So it was like, and then the year
Brilliant.
that I figured out
Progress.
that probably wasn't the best, I literally went from like 60 to 80 in 1 year. So it was like, okay, what happened there? And I think that
Like
training
you said,
style,
lots of fun.
yeah, I think it's such a nice training style because I don't see how, say if people aren't using immaculate form, how can you know that you're progressing? And it's like, say if, I guess there is a place for momentum sometimes, but it's like, if every rep can't be measured, then how can you really know? Especially week to week. It's like,
Yeah.
that change could be due to a multitude of factors. Why would you try and add more factors that aren't necessarily
Exactly,
beneficial?
Exactly. I mean, like I could easily go in and move a weight from A to B one more time if I let my body kind of swing it or recruited all the other muscles. But that's not the point. So you do have to be strict with yourself. And I think we're all still guilty of it. I do it. Like when I'm at the sort of dog end of a logbook progression, and I'm sort of looking at it, and I'm going, "There's no way I'm going to get that 10th rep today." It's the temptation to swing it up just to sort of satisfy your logbook.
Yeah.
And go, did it. Everyone does it.
Yeah.
But just try to be strict. I end up counting like the half reps. So, like in my logbook, I'll even written down sometimes like 9 3/4.
Yes.
Like trying to be smug with myself. Like I did progress.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's very tempting. But try not. Yeah, like you said, don't put another variable in there. It's just you can't measure it.
Yes, I completely agree. And I think with these sort of things for a long time, I think most people, they think either it's a bit much to measure it all or something like that. But I think if someone wants to take bodybuilding seriously, I kind of think it's the only way at this point. Like I find with a lot of IFBB pros, I don't know if this is how they actually train, but I find a lot of them will sort of try and peddle this mentality of like, oh, just work as hard as you can every single session, and don't like it's not like they're measuring and trying to progress and it's not the hard work mentality that I don't like about it, but it's the hard work and neglecting other things.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know what you mean. I think a lot it depends. Like, there's a couple of guys and girls out there that are, and I don't like to say genetically elite because you can sort of blame a lot on genetics, and at the end of the day, it is hard work that gets anyone anywhere. But there are people that are structurally put together that just connect with muscles and don't have to train quite as hard as someone else to achieve the same goal. That's life.
Yeah,
we are. Someone might be an A-star level in maths and they don't have to try. The other person could get an A-star, but they have to put in double the work. Yeah. So with those people, it's quite difficult, and you've got to remember they're at the top of their game now as well. So you have to remember that the way they train now is that actually the way they used to train when they weren't that good. Yes. Probably not. There's a big difference between getting there and then staying there. Like maintenance of muscle mass for the guys that have already, guys and girls that have already got everything they need is very different. Yeah, I totally agree that when you're sort of at the beginner level or you're working your way up that ladder, you have to be more meticulous with progress, with the numbers. When you get to the top, you can probably chill out a bit and just maintain. Yeah. So I totally agree with you there, yeah. Yeah,
and then we'll probably finish off here, but I'd like to say, so what would be your main sort of, if we sort of gave general advice for the bodybuilder who say, let's say now they're a natural athlete, they've been training for around 2 years or something like that. They've had a little bit of an investment period, but they still have time to go. They're thinking of competing relatively soon in the next few years. They know they want to compete for sure. What would be your main piece of advice that you think will sort of set them on the best path?
Okay. Question number 1, ask yourself, do you really, 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 truly want to compete? And if the answer is, I don't know, don't do it. Because comp prep and competing is a huge investment of time, effort financially, mentally. It's really, really tough. And if you're not doing it for all the right reasons, and for me, the right reasons are because you really love it and you want a challenge, then you're never going to enjoy the process. So don't do something you don't love. Pick something else. So there can always be a sporting goal and something to be competitive in. There's lots of sports you can do. You can try anything. So stepping on stage isn't the be all and end all. So that would be the sort of first question I'd ask myself is, am I sure, or are you sure that you really want to step on stage? And then the second piece of advice is basically just give it 100%. If you've decided you want to do something, and this applies to absolutely anything in life, like this is how I've got so far in education as well. If you want to do something, you have to absolutely give it everything. You can't wing it. So you decide you want to do something, get the correct advice. So either hire a good coach or make sure you're listening and reading on good forums and podcasts and listening to people that really do care about the outcome, and just give it your all. And I promise nothing works better than hard work. And it's so cliche, but honestly, it's true.
Yes.
Because the person that's going to beat you on stage, they gave it 100%. So don't ever leave it to chance. Because I know when I'm backstage and I look around me, there's going to be girls, especially now, that are way better than me. I can't beat them, but I really feel so good about myself standing there looking around and going, yep, I did everything I could every single day. Place, I'm happy with that because I couldn't have been any better. So it's not the objective winning or losing, it's the subjective winning or losing.
Yes.
Am I the best I can be? Yeah. Does that mean you're going to get first place? Probably not. So just, that would be my two advice. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons and that you really enjoy it, and make sure that you just give it your all.
Yes, I completely agree. I think, especially with something like bodybuilding, if you go into it and you're kind of not into it, like for me, I know that I want to compete at some point. I'm not sure when, but I know, like I have a very good reason to do it, and I know it's good. I don't know at what period I'm going to do it in my life, but I want to do it at a period where I can give it 100% and not have to.
Exactly.
I don't want to half-ass it, because then it's like...
Exactly, yeah. What's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's why would you want to go up there and do less than you could?
Exactly.
But yeah. So where can people find you online? Where can people find all the projects you're involved with? Anything like that? Instagram, sites, all that sort of stuff.
So my IG name is CAI57. You can also look on Trained by JP, and the business that me and Jordan work through together is Trained by JP. So our website as well is www.trainedbyjp.com, and if you go on there, you can find our subscription website, and there's links to our coaching services, the clothing, basically our timetable for the year. So if you're ever in the UK or whatever, then you can find us and meet us and come to one of our seminars. So basically that's where you're going to find the information of where I am. That's where I'll be lurking, basically, the Train by JP website.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Student Side Hustle. I would appreciate so much if you would leave a review if you'd like to hear more of what I'm saying. Then I would love if you would follow me on Instagram or check out my other social media, all linked in the show notes. And again, I would just like to say thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful evening and study hard.